And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome on into the Dragon's Den. It's Digital Dragon. I'm a 3D printing variety streamer here on. Welcome on in. We've been going through a build series on our weekday streams here, building a Micron Plus from Formbot 3D kit that you can readily get through AliExpress. And that printer is right here in all of its glory. Since the last stream, I did go and add all of the panels. I did have printed parts for both 3 millimeter and 1 millimeter foam. And what I wound up doing was putting 3 millimeter foam on the entire printer, which has helped a little bit, both in some noise as well as just giving it a little bit more breathing room and space. But I will say this right now has been printing some ABS, and I don't have anything like a Nevermore, any type of filter in it. And yeah, big headache because it just printed uh, this print all day long. So got a decent headache, and we're going to take care of that on stream today. Welcome on in, Pete. How are you doing today? Hope you're doing well. Um, So, like I said, we printed some PLA with this on the last stream. We're going to do some high temp printing today. Um, I've been testing it out just to make sure that we're not going to have any issues because that's what I like to do. And this is the scroll that we printed before, just a little bit bigger, printed in the same uh, Red Dwarf ABS that we used on the printer itself. And it's kind of a low poly squirrel. It came out really well. Once again, just pushing plastic. We haven't done anything other than tune the E-steps on this printer yet. So I don't, I'm just pushing some plastic, trying to break in the print, making sure it's mechanically sound so we can make some adjustments. If one of those adjustments that I think I'm going to make is on the door. Think I am going to go and add the 1 millimeter thick foam right around the door just to help it seal some. And I also need to still add the door handle. Now you'll notice a little bit different than a Voron V0 where you would have the magnets in the door handle itself. This is just going to VHB tape on, and the magnets are actually high and low on either side. And you need to have it that way so that your flying gantry doesn't hit the. We're going to let this continue to cool down. Some of the other things that I printed on this was the zero filter. So the zero filter is a smaller version of well, think of like a Nevermore, right? Really what it is a Nevermore style filter. But it's made to work on the F0, Micron, the Panda, and other small form factor like this, where you would have a moving gantry. Because you have a moving gantry, you can't just put something on the side. If this is a V0, I can do a Nevermore. I could do a mini bento box on the side or the back, and it's going to be out of the way because the gantry's fixed. But on something like this, where the bed's fixed and the gantry's moving up and down, I can't put anything on the sides or the back because the gantry would hit it. Hey, Nick, how's it going? And so some of the other things I printed would be the parts for the zero filter. Now, this is the item that Aaron told us about last week, and it's an interesting little design. So it uses a 4010 blower fan, and it's made to go in the gap between the two 1515 extrusions underneath the bed. And it would sit right up underneath there, so it would be able to pull the heat from the bottom of the bed, push it through some activated charcoal, and then out through the front, just like the new Nevermore 6 does. The difference is one, it's a lot smaller, and then two, the mounting bracket here, and it's kind of interesting. It looks like you could easily slice this in half if you needed to. This is made so that you would put a heat set insert in both sides, and you have 4 mounting points on the side and the top to really make it secure so it doesn't vibrate and make a lot of noise. But then your rear box would be held on with a screw on each side of the mount, and that will keep your fan portion steady, and your media portion then is attached with magnets. And then there's also a spot here for a gasket, and you can use an O-ring or you can use some standard TPU filament, right? So what I'm going to do here, because like I said, I got a wicked headache from sitting here letting this print all day without any type of filtration in it. I am going to turn this off, and we'll pop the print and set the print over to finish cooling. And I'm going to turn this off, set it on its side. I'm going to take the bottom deck panel off so that I can then take this, and I'm just going to basically push it through the bottom deck, plug it in, and just set this loosely in the back for now, just to get some air filtration going, because the Bakelite standoffs are not tall enough for the media deck to sit underneath it. So I need to raise it up a little bit. And I did find I do have 4 of the knurled nuts that I haven't used before. And these are a little bit taller, that would give me the additional clearance that I would need to actually run this up underneath the bed successfully. So at that point, I'll take the bed off, I'll mount my screws, and then we'll come back in and put this all back together, or get the bed together. And I'll probably do that off stream, just so we can get some stuff going. How's it going, Stephen Poole, Nick, Pete Savas? I hope everyone's doing good today. So, like I said, just a couple of more things to kind of flesh out our little printer here. It's really been printing well. Like I said, let me pop this up and I'll set it in one of the other printers to keep cooling down. But this is the Cyborg Medusa, I think, or Cyber Medusa from Lotus Mint. And of course, I use supports on it, so I'll have to take those off. But once again, let me just set it over in one of the other printers and let it continue to cool down naturally while we turn this off, and we'll pop the deck panel off. You'll notice I did get the screen mounted as well. We'll pop the deck panel off so that we can just route this wire through. And I'm probably going to print another one. And I'm thinking, rather than go at the underneath and go one to the front and one to the back where I'd have to deal with the fans, I believe I'm going to mount one on each side. So I'll probably take like this mount and quite literally, I'm probably just going to take this one and run it through my bandsaw to cut it in half rather than reprint it. And what that will let me do is mount one over here and the one on this side and one on this side. And that will allow me to mount one of these on each side. Um, so I will have two of them, and that'll give me about the same amount of filter material as the old Nevermore on the V0. Right. So let me go ahead and shut this off. So that we can lay it on its side. Give it a couple of seconds for it to fully shut down the CPU. So how's everybody doing this evening? I'll just turn it around and give everybody the view so you can see fully everything. So we do have an angled PTFE tube going through. And then once again, we've got our fans on this side. Both of them are on this side. You do have the ability to maybe put a fan on each side, or I can add more fans on the other side if I really wanted to get a lot of airflow going through here. But what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm just going to lay this on its side, and I want to lay it on this side. So I'll take our spool of filament off, just unwind it a little bit and set it down on the table. Gently lay this on its back or on its side. Now, the bottom panel here is screwed on with 8 screws, and these colored trim pieces here, you're actually screwing through the deck panel, through the colored trim, and into the skirt. So when I take these off to be able to gain access to route that cable down and plug it in, I'll have to remove a couple of these along the way. Well, they'll fall off actually, and I may set it up on its, yeah, I'm going to put it up on its top to take this off. That way I don't have to sit here and, use gravity to keep as much stuff in place as possible when we do this. And these are in there with M3 by 12 screws to go through everything. Cookie TM, how are you doing? Yes, this is a Micron Plus. This is from a Formbot 3D kit that was purchased off of AliExpress. It was a pretty nice little build. I have to admit, it was a pretty nice little build. Now, this doesn't have like a tilting panel or anything like that, so you do have to remove all the screws to take the panel off. Not too bad, it's only 8. Come off free. Now, once again, these plates can come off, so I'll just take one off. Now let me get up underneath there to take this panel out. That gets us back into our electronics. What I need to do is I'm just going to reach in here and route this up through the hole in the back deck or in the lower deck. And I'll plug it in. And like I said, I'm just going to kind of leave it flopping around in the back for now. plug this into fan port 4, just loosely. I'm going to plug it into fan port 4. Like I said, I'm just going to route it in there very loosely like that. I'm not going to try and lock it in place just yet, because that's going to require me to, well, one, I'm going to wind up taking the bed off and running a second one. So chances are what I'm going to do is I'm going to do use one of my fan inputs that takes like 3 in parallel here, and I'll just wire up 2 of them to plug directly into this, and then one that goes from here and then all the way back to the um, fan board, so they'll both run off the same input. Um, and like I said, in order to do that, I'm going to have to actually take off the bed to mount. Um, so I have to take off the bed, take off the rail, mount it, and then resecure the rail. So it'll be a little bit of fun. I'm not going to dream here, partly because I just want to print some. And I will tell you, this isn't a perfect cube. So there is a little bit of a difference between the sides, distance side to side and front to back. So you will notice that if you do one of these kits, when you go to put the bottom panel on, that it is not a square. What I did to try and get these lined up is just kind of, if I did one here, I'm not going to do this one. I'm going to come over here and do the front one. And all I'm trying to do is just make sure that I'm getting everything lined up and keeping it loose initially until I get these put in all the way around. Then I'll come in and secure everything. Hey, Pez Liz, how you doing? How you feeling today? Hopefully you're doing well. We're doing some initial prints with the Micron here, and after the last print that I had going, which was a Photos Mint um, Fiber Medusa, which has just been running for like almost 8 hours, 7.5 hours, pretty much the entire day while I've been sitting right next to it working. Yeah, I've developed quite the headache because there was no carbon filter in. That's what I am remedying right now. Is just I'm going to have the little zero filter put in here, um, just sitting loosely in the back for right now, and we will, off stream. I'll go through the process of taking the bed off so that I can mount the zero filter properly. And I'm actually going to run 2 of them in, one on each left and right side of the bed. Because they're smaller than like a typical Nevermore, to get the same amount of media, you have to run 2 of the filters and cartridges. These are um, using 4010 blowers. We got that put back on there. I got to be careful because, like I said, it's just dangling in there right now. So when I go to flip this back up, it may make some noise. Okay, there. So get that back up. We'll put our Polymaker blue ABS filament back on there. And our filter system right here, once again, is just going to be sitting kind of loosely in the back here. Um, we're going to have to figure this one out, make sure it doesn't hit with the thing there. Dang it. Thought I was going to have a little bit more length to that. Well, for now, I might have to try and stuff it up under the bed. We'll see. We'll get some media in here. So if you're familiar with the Nevermores, you'll notice this is our little media cartridge, which is really small compared to the Nevermore. And that's why I really need to get two. And the plan will be to have these mounted on either side of the bed. So I'll have one here and one here to give me my full amount of media or yeah, filter media that we'll need. Or I need to find it. I had a little funnel around here for the Gridfinity system that would come in handy for this. But this is going to use a 4010 blower fan, and it'll move a decent amount of air, but not, of course, as much as like a 5010 or not 50, a 5015. And contrary to popular belief, you do not want these filled all the way to the top. Your little lid here just slides in and clips in with a detent. Okay, so let me get this popped on there to see. That should be able to sit back there fine with no problems, at least temporarily while we do some more printing. And might have to do some coding. I can't remember, so we'll probably have to make some coding adjustments to make sure that our fan actually turns on and works. How's everybody doing tonight? So, Cookie, you're new here. Are you into the 3D printing realm, I take it? And have you built a Micron in the past? Welcome on in, Rodney and Timor and Shaudel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so we need to, I'm going to bring you over here to my full display over here. And we're going to need to make sure that we've got our Nevermore or filter or whatever we want to call it set up. So we're going to scroll down here to our fan section. And these are our two side controller fans, fans 2 and 3. And then we're going to use fan 4 for our Nevermore or our filtration, and it's not set up. And as you guys know, I like to make things easy on my. So we'll go over to something like PayDragon, pull up its printer config file. Sorry about that. I'm going to desk scroll over. And then we're just going to do some cut and paste because I like making like. So our heater fan, exhaust fan, copy this portion, fan 4, place this here. Going to uncomment our pen. When you're doing these copy and paste like this, just remember not to copy your pins unless it's the exact same board. Exact same board, exact same setup, go ahead and copy the pins. If not, do yourself a favor and do not copy the pins. And there we go. So we've got max power, shutdown speed, kick start time, tied to the heater bed. So anytime we tell the heated bed to go up to 60 or higher, fan will kick on, and it'll kick on at full power. Do a save and restart. That. Up here to our dashboard. Scroll down to the bottom. We'll have our controller fan, we'll have an exhaust fan, and a hot end fan. So you'll notice this fan, this is our printer cooling fan. We can adjust this, turn it on, turn it off, but we don't have that for the exhaust fan. The easiest way to get the exhaust fan to trigger is just to tell the bed to heat up. I'm going to tell it to heat the bed up to 110. And these fans have kicked on. Our filter fan has not yet. Like I said, once the bed hits 60 degrees, the filter fan should kick on. And I'm interested to see how noisy the 4010 will be in. Cookie is definitely not new to 3D printing. You have a Micron 120 5-head XL and a Mark III. Oh, nice. Nice. Welcome on in, Cookie. I believe this is the first time you've been to the stream. I don't remember seeing you around some of the other channels, and it could just be that I just haven't noticed you in the channels. But thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. So heater bed is definitely up, but this fan is not kicking on. Does it's on? You know what? I wonder if this fan is a shared fan port. I think it might be. And I did just plug that into a 2-pin, and this is showing a 4-pin. Here we go. There we go. It is a 4-pin. Why is that fan not working? For some reason, I think there's something special about that fan. Give me 1 second to check through here. Because we definitely want that working before we keep printing. Because, like I said, the headache is for real. Okay, don't forget to copy over an errant ADXL because we have not done an ADXL yet either. I'm pretty sure I set the power jumpers, but it's quite possible that I didn't set it. Okay, well, regardless, it looks like one way or the other, I'm going to be turning it back off and popping things back open. We're going to shut that down. We will turn it off and we will pop it back open. And for giggles, not for giggles, I'm going to remove the added weight there, the noise factor. Take our ABS that I left attached. Move this around slowly because once again, that is not connected to anything. And we'll pop our 8 screws off again so that we can get underneath the deck panel. And I believe I have already copied over the ADXL section. So the way I did the config for the Micron is I started basically by copying over the well, so I did the basic Manta M8P board config because that gets me the initial pins. And then I went through the salad fork because the salad fork is a Manta M5P with the EBB. So I went through and copied all the stuff that was attached to the EBB over, right? The toolhead board. Then I grabbed the Micron config and whipped through that and added it. So it should have the ADXL stuff already there. We just still need to run input shaper because I haven't done that yet either. And well, yeah, that would be the big thing is there's no jumper here, so it doesn't know what to set the power to. And I wonder if I run this underneath, if I can get a little bit more distant. Part of that is if I can run all the way up. Very least under the power supply. this hard. Shouldn't be, but apparently it's over, up. May give us a little bit more room to play with over there. And now I have a thing of jumpers. That was the issue, is we just didn't have a jumper on the power for this thing. So that's set now. Should be good to go. Back on, and we will get started again. Funny how that happens. So, Cookie, do you design as well, or do you just 3D print? What kind of, or part of the 3D printing making community do you participate in? Do a lot of machine builds here on stream, but we're going to start doing some. We've got some droids to build for Star Wars droids. I've got a Dio and um, a mini, as in 40% size. Um, Sorry, I'm sitting here showing you a screen that is. So I'm doing a Dio droid, which is the unicycle droid, and then I've got a 40% size chopper that I will be building as well. I'm just waiting for all the final parts to get in for chopper, but I have everything to get started on Dio, which we will start soon. We also have a couple of battle bots that we're going to put together. Mrs. Dragon wants to run some battle bots at Rocky Mountain Rep Fest. Then I also have I've got a couple more parts to print that I had forgotten to print, but I've got a Galactic Armory Imperial Mandalorian Commando armor set um, that I need to join all the parts together and paint, and then, of course, go through all the painting and potentially weathering and all that good stuff. Okay. Yeah, starting to get into a few more things here on the channel. Sanding and initial spray painting and stuff like that, I'm not going to do on the channel, but weathering and things like that, we can do that type of painting on the channel. Just because I don't have a good setup to do anything else. That's a little bit more. We're just going to leave that back there. That bring up interface. And so once again, let's go ahead and tell it to heat up. And I want to see that fan kick on, which it did. So we now are getting some filtration going at least, which is good. Let's go ahead and make sure that we can get full movement without hitting anything, with it just sitting there the way it is. I think we're going to be able to clear everything. And that's the nice thing about using tap is when you forget that you don't have your build plate in, it's still going to work just fine. So while it's doing its thing, we'll go ahead and pop that off. One little piece that is stuck on here. There we go. And that took an error, so that's Y back on there. Now we'll do our G30. Really need to get better at just doing only the supports that I really need to print, not everything. So we'll do we'll get this going, and then we'll do a input shaper. run. And then we can go ahead and print some other stuff. But this Micron, it was a fun build. The kit, I mean, it was a pretty good kit. There was a few things that were where I needed to use a couple of my own screws because it didn't seem like we had the right screws. But then again, that could also be a fact of the kit. Well, I don't even want to say it's an issue with the kit. I think it's more an issue that there's no manual, right? So the big issue we had is at a certain point, the manual ran out and we were left to our own devices to try and figure out, okay, what screw goes where, what size screw goes where. And anytime that that's left up to the builder, one, it's more chance where the builder uses the wrong type of screw and has to go through a little bit of trial and error. And then two, if you provide a kit, you could run out of a certain screw size that you need later on, and then you're just having to fiddle around and make do. So we've gone through and we've done a home, a quad gantry level, and then we homed Z again in the middle. Now, I do want to say, we'll take a look at our printer config real fast here. And I do have all the ADXL settings in place here. So we are ready to do input shaping. And the easiest way to do that is shaper_calibrate. And this will actually let there we go. Unless you forget that you haven't finished so I've got the settings in the right place, but what I don't have is Numpians. Darn it. So at some point I should have this. Software installs. So let's go ahead and come on here to the full display because I'm going to have to do a running this on a CB1. So it's BQ, BQ, ByQ, ByQ, however you want to call it. And then the easiest thing to do is just copy the commands, right click to enter, and let it run through. Now, Numpy is the part that's going to take a little bit. That can take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes or so, depending on your configuration and how much needs to be installed once we get everything else installed. Meanwhile, I'm going to sit here and continue to take off supports off of print I did earlier. But the kit itself has been very good. I did not install the clicky probe. Funny enough, I've had several kits that come with a clicky probe, and I have yet to ever install clicky or the Z-Stop, Sex Bolt, whatever you got or whatever you want to call it. I've never installed any of those on any of my Vorons. I always go straight to tap. So my switch wires are the only thing that have been configured both physically and software wise for the inductive probe. Everything else has gone straight to tap. So, and I really like tap. I think it's a great homing system and it cleans so much up. I've seen people that have had all kinds of issues getting clicky and the docking to work right. Because once again, there's config guidance out there. There may even be a baseline config, but that doesn't mean that your printer, as you built it, with the mods that you may or may not have added, puts your dock in the same exact spot as the configuration guide. And that would be why, if you're doing something like that, I would highly, highly suggest that you build it exactly to spec and make sure that everything is mechanically working before you change things up. Like on my K3, that was one of the things that I needed to really make sure of was the purge bucket location. So I was very, very critical of anything that I might change that would impact the location of the purge bucket and the macro for doing like a nozzle clean or a purge bucket for purge. Yeah, you've got to be careful of those pieces. Once again, moving a hot tool head and moving it to the wrong location could have some bad things happen. Okay, so that portion is done. So now we'll come down here for the pip install of Numpy. Hopefully we don't get an error about pip. Okay, it looks like Numpy is now installed. We have everything else set up on our, from our printer config file, everything is set up. So we should now be good to go with coming back over here and running our shaper calibrate again. There we go. Switch back over to here. And we'll start to see our tool head moving. Now, it doesn't move that much. For anybody that's new to shaper or input shaping and shaper calibrate. But you will start to hear, I'll say some things sing to you. Now, typically, I try and put some type of support up underneath this printer, meaning I either set it on a rubber mat or a concrete block, kind of like I've got the K3 on, because it'll be a better resonance frequency. Like right now, this is a like half-inch piece of melamine that sits on top of like 4 metal slats on this bench. So it's not the most sturdy for doing input shaping on, but it'll give us something to start with. We can always work. We'll run it again, or I will run it again once I get this printer in its home base. Royal Nomi, how are you doing tonight? Hope you are doing well and that you're healing up well from your latest doctor's appointment. Once again, I just finished clearing off the supports here, and you can still see some of the stress on the model from where I took the supports off. I should be able to hit this with a heat gun, and it'll help clean some of that up because this is ABS. But this is the Cyber Medusa by Photosmint. Once again, printed in ABS. On the Micron Plus today, which is definitely why I needed to get some type of charcoal filtration in there because it was starting to give me a headache. But all the details came out well. You just got in from getting some IV fluids. Okay, nice. We also had, I told you we were going to do another scroll. So here is the like low poly squirrel that Kit Skyfire had us do last stream. And I did this. Once again, this is the uh, Fusion Filaments Red Dwarf. I think it's ABS 1.5. So this came out really nice. And so far, we didn't do any input shaping on this. We're in fact doing that right now. I probably shouldn't set that on top of that while it does it. So we're doing input shaping right now. We haven't done any extrusion multiplier testing. It's just been print on it for a little bit to get some filament through. Ooh. Okay, so if Hesliz was asking how your head is, and you just had IV fluids, can I assume that you had we're getting like a real bad migraine from dehydration? Because I had that before, and that really sucked. So one thing that we're going to do, I'm going to come over and look at the console so we can see a little bit more here, and I'll go to full display. So Shaper Calibrate will enter the recommended type of input shaper, whether that's MZ, MZV, what have you. And here it's recommending 2-hump EI at a frequency of 79 for Y. So it will enter this information, but the piece that you need to do is come look for 2-hump. It says to avoid too much smoothing, if you use 2-hump, your accelerations need to be under 6,900. right? So we'll come down here and look for the same thing for X. In X, it recommended MZV at a frequency of 64.4. So we'll come look for MZV and it says to avoid too much smoothing, suggested max acceleration is 12,200. Now, what you really want to do is go with the lower value and drop it down a little bit more to give you a cushion. So with the lower value being the Y at 6,900, then, I would probably set the max acceleration to like 6,000. Okay. So we do a save config here. It'll go through and do its thing. And we'll come into our printer config and I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And you'll see that it's added our input shaper information with MZV and 2hump for Y. What it doesn't do is all the way up here at the top in our printer kinematics section, it doesn't set the max acceleration. So right now it's set to 3,000, which is kind of a default starting point. So we would set that, I would set it to 6,000, which is below the 6,900, which is the lowest number. Um, so that's how I would set that up. We still haven't also done our pressure advance testing. So we need to set and do our pressure advance and stuff like that. But we'd have to go through and do our extrusion multiplier and then other things. Hey, Zombie, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, almost looks like an old brick red. Yep. Yeah, and anesthesia can do that as well. I also was getting trigger point injections and um, cervical spine injections. And when they did one of the cervical spine ones, they hit the was it they hit the nerve? They hit something they weren't supposed to with it. It was the one time I had it done by the VA, and I was like dehydrated within an hour and in the hospital screaming bloody murder. And they wound up having to give me morphine and make sure they didn't do any more damage, and then wound up giving me like 3 bags of IV before I finally was hydrated enough that they could send me back home. But yeah, that was horrendous. Feel for you. You got all your recycling together to take out? Nice. Hello, Bricks 914. Welcome on in. Yeah, so yesterday was trash day and we took most of that out. We're gonna have to do a recycling run here soon. So all of our cardboard we break down and we take over to the local recycling location. We can do the same thing with our plastics. Um, Now the plastics like this bottle is really too thick. We'd take this to recycling, but like an Evian or a 2 liter bottle, um, I'm keeping those because I do have a recreator pultrusion system that I need to get set up because I've been drinking a lot of 1 liter water bottles. So that's all PET filament. So we'll be doing that. So we just did shaper calibrate on here. We've done E-steps. Let's set up and do our extrusion multiplier setting. And I do want to do one other thing. I was noticing that the bottoms on both of these, I'm also getting the white marks on it, which is telling me I'm too close to the bed. So I did raise it up off the bed a little bit, but this is the ABS print that I did today. And you probably can't see, but it does have the mesh details on the side of the face or the head there. I really need to get some better lighting in here, rather than just dome lighting. But this came out pretty good. This is the Photosmint Cyber Medusa. Came out really well, pretty smooth. I am seeing some ringing, but like I said, we haven't done any input shaping or extrusion multiplier. We also did the squirrel. This is a low poly squirrel. This was the full size, done in the Red Dwarf ABS that our printer was done in. So you got 2 bags today. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna do a screw sorting. I kind of do a screw sorting in combination, but over here on the side of the bench, I've got so many little bits and gubbins that I just need to go through and clean this up, before we get into any more of the next build. Definitely before we get into black box, right? So hopefully, Monday, I believe KB3D said that all of the initial black box kits are going out, and I will be in that initial kit set. So hopefully, I will have a UPS shipping set for Monday, and I will have that in time for next Saturday, which will be our stream anniversary and birthday stream. So next Saturday, not this Saturday, this Saturday the 2nd is a standard stream. We'll be back over here working on the Trident 350 build, right? So we'll be working on this. This is the deep fried hero kit. So we'll be working on the X gantry, belting the X gantry, and then going into the bed and making some good progress there. And then over here, we'll be working on up to temp, up to temp, try and get this chamber temp up. And then going into the week, since this build's now done, we'll be working on the Trident on Saturday, trying to do a big push to get it done. Next week, we're either going to shift to working on the Trident, which I don't think so. I think we're going to keep the Trident on Saturdays, and we're going to start doing one of our droid builds. And I believe we're going to start with Dio first, because I can do a lot of the initial pieces of Dio, start getting the main motors and stuff put into place. We'll be working on Dio. We'll be also working on a couple of little battle bots. Um, I talked to you about it some before, but I got some more parts in today. So we're going to be doing some 150 gram all printed ant weight battle bots. And so this is the actual main body and chassis. Um, we're going to have a carbon fiber arm off the front with the motor for our rotating um, weapon. So this will be a horizontal spinner. It's going to be using an 1806 motor, which is the um, standard quadcopter motor. The little 2S LiPo batteries. And this is going to be pretty cool to look at. So, yeah. so much different. Here are the motors. So this is the quadcopter motor. So this will be what the spinner is mounted on. So we'll have the nut come off. It'll basically be installed straight through there. Nut will go on to secure it, right? This will get mounted to the arm, and we'll have our wires that will come all the way through. We've also got our N20 motors. So these are the motors that are going to run the wheels. And these are the ones I think are so cute. So these just came in today. So these are the little metal geared motors that will run the wheels. So these are going to go on each side with a wheel mounted on it, right? And it's going to be a press fit mounted wheel. And the nice thing is that's the ESC board on these. There's no additional ESCs. We can bring it straight, power and signal straight from the receiver into these boards. And they're going to mount right back here, screwed in from the top into the block. And so this is going to be a really cool little project that Mrs. Dragon wanted me to do for her so that she could actually run some battle bots at Remurf. So I also need to get the death racers, at least my death racer from Evil Diesel, because he's got them all over at his house. So I need to get those from him so that we can. What are we doing? That's the package. Using myself. So that Mrs. Dragon can practice because I think she's going to run the Death Racer. And I've got enough that I'm going to make like 2 of these, so she'll have one to practice with, and then one that she can run at the show. And the blades are actually the polycarbonate carbon fiber that we're printing all the parts for the black box out. So we'll put those together on stream. I've been warming this up. What I need to do is I was going to do some extrusion multiplier tests real fast to see how our extrusion multiplier is doing. And at some point, I really need to get Orca Slicer on the streaming computer and get everything set up there. So I can actually show you guys what I'm doing as far as the configuration. But it's running through Orca Slicer and just using the regular standard calibration test. This is the flow rate test. And it starts off with nine looks like little swatches, right? And what it does is it runs them at a certain percentage less and then a certain percentage more. And it does them in an increment of 5% higher, lower. So it goes from anything from 20, plus 20 to negative 20. And from that, it gives you a starting point that you can then go through and do the second pass, which will be a set of 10 swatches. And it does everything from 0 to negative 9 so that you can then start it and dial in your extrusion multiplier. So I just got that started. While that's running, I'm going to come over here and open up the package that came in from KB3D, where I've got to try and remember what I ordered from him. Ah, knew there was a reason why I was waiting on this. So we've got the under the deck wiring kit. So the DFH kit comes with some wiring, but it doesn't come with a full set of wiring or wiring harness. It's going to be running it does come with the main electronics boards. So it does have the, I believe it's a Manta M5P and an SB2240 toolhead board. So it's going to be running CAN bus. So everything on the toolhead should have wiring, of course, to that CAN bus toolhead. But what we don't have would be the under the deck wiring. So I find that the Lineo under the deck kit for the Vorons, so this works for any of the 2.4 or the Trident kits, regardless of size, whether it's a 250, 300, or 350 kit. So I tend to use those because it makes wiring a lot easier. Some of the parts are already pre-crimped. And then we get some other fun packages here. And that is three different, or well, not three different, but three Revo heater cores. And these are the high flow variants. So these are the what is it, 60 watt high flow variants. We've got a Revo Obsidian. Should be Obsidian, yep. 0.6 nozzle. This now gives me three of these at the 0.6. And then we've got a V6 titanium heat break. The V6, this is the plated copper heat block, so it'll heat up a lot quicker. And the Splice Engineering Gamma 0.6 nozzle, so this is a hardened 0.6 nozzle. So you'll notice I just showed you that I've now got four high heat, high flow style nozzle setups. And these are going to be for the four initial tool heads for the black box. So I'm going to have three Revo nozzles and one V6 nozzle. The nice thing is that lets me try out any V6 tool head type. So if I wanted to try out a CH, 0.6 CHT, I just buy a 0.6 CHT and pop it in there and go. If I want to try out an Undertaker nozzle, I go get an Undertaker nozzle, pop it in and go. And I can, once the high flow Obsidian nozzles come out, I just need to buy the nozzles and pop those in because I've already got the high flow setups going. And that will give me four standard FDM toolhead setups and the ability to go with a fifth toolhead of any type that I want. Because down the road, there will be non-FDM toolhead options for the tool chain. I think at this point I've got everything that I need for my initial black box tool heads. I still need one more of the FDM tool head kits, which will come with all the bits and bobbins for your extruder gear, your wipes, your locking hub piece and everything. I've got the water blocks, so the cooling blocks already sitting here as well. So we're ready for black box when it gets here, and it should be here, like I said, next week. Fingers crossed. It'll be my birthday present. You got Revo for the Sprite hot end for free, but you don't have a Creality printer with that hot end. If you have a bed slinger with a 2020 rail for the X gantry, it may fit on that. Um, okay, Aaron. I mean, it's one. Yeah, there's multiple extrusion tests that you can go out and do. I kind of look at it as it's better than nothing, and it's a good starting point to get me close. And then once again, I will get my extrusion multiplier dialed in as best I can using these methods. And then we'll go through and, um, do some other testing. Like if you look at the actual, was it Andrew Ellis guide, he's got a lot of those in there as well for, different patterns and stuff that you can do. Yeah, the Ellis cubes. Yeah, and that's the thing is higher top layers will definitely, or a higher number of layers will definitely show a higher or be more evident on an extrusion multiplier issue. That is true. Meanwhile, while we're here, let me work on my door here. For those of you that are asking about AliExpress stuff, aka the ERCFA 2 kit or the ERCFA 2 upgrade kit that we're adding to the Trident. So the Trident, we've got the basic Trident build, and we're going to build that and get it working. The only slight difference is we will be building the tool head to enable us for ERCFA out of the box. So the tool head will have the filament cutter capability, it will have the sensor capability, and it will have the like the proper ECAS fitting and stuff. So we will print out the stealth burner parts that we need to enable ERCFA from the get-go, and we're going to print with it to make sure it works. Then, sorry, I got confused. I was like, UPS said 2 packages were delivered, but yes, there was 2 packages. So the ERCFA upgrade. So let me roll back. So the DFH kit comes with a ERCFA 1.1 6-cart parts. Okay. I ordered both a FISEC and a the lead ERCFA 2 upgrade kit. And both of those would take a 6-cart 1.1 and upgrade it to a 8-cart 2. That includes cottontail and the the cutter stuff, the tool head pieces. So we will be building that out as well. Now my plan is get Trident going and get it working first. Then we'll do the ERCFA build and then start doing the, okay, now let's mount ERCFA and get ERCFA going. So I do want to do that as, boom, Trident build, then an ERCFA build, and then get everything working on that setup. And then we will most likely follow that and just kind of go into a multicolor and extravaganza, because we have a trad rack that we have here that we built under the closed beta. I'm going to rebuild that because one, I realized that the extrusions that I bought, which are this size, are great, but they're about 6 millimeters short of being able to work on the K3 as a mounting point. So I've got other extrusion. I'm going to cut to length a piece of extrusion and we'll rebuild trad rack. And of course, get it to do the same color scheme as the K3. And our K3, which is sitting right here, we'll have our backpack on this side, and we'll have the ability for trad rack hanging off the other side, in which case we'll move it down to one of the ends so that we can run filament up from the bottom. And trad rack right now, I've got, I think, a dozen lanes capable on it. So yeah, we'll rebuild trad rack. We'll get trad rack installed. We'll go through the fun of configuring all of those things as well. Meanwhile, we'll be building black box over on the weekend streams, and that's where we'll get into true tool changing, which will allow us to do different materials, because you really don't want to do different materials through the same tool head, right? A tool changer is better with different materials because they're going to be at different temperatures. The last thing you want to do is run ABS through a tool head and then come through and try and run TPU or some other material type through the tool head, because it's going to be a different print temperature and you will get clogs, guaranteed. You really like the LS cubes. You have a project file saved for each printer. Okay. Yeah, that's probably something I will work on, Aaron, is getting the LS cube set up as well. Watch truck. So what we can do is we'll get the flow rate or flow pass 1, flow pass 2 done. We've got input shaping done, and then we can try and run we'll try and run a swatch truck, because both of these prints are pretty quick. I will tell you, for whatever reason with Orca Slicer, every time I try and run the PA, like the pressure advance, like the arrows one or the lines, it's been giving me an error lately, and I don't know why. I don't know what's causing it. So I wind up, the one that still works for me is the tower. So I've been doing the full tower thing, and having to measure and go from there. I'm trying to focus on getting the backing off the VHB tape. Try and eyeball center here. Steve Builds is, I know I'll take all kinds of heck from Steve Builds if he sees me doing this eyeballing. Like, it's not vertical. Hey, shenanigans. Sorry, I was just trying to get my door handle VHB in. I finally got a door handle. Part of me that didn't want to put the door handle on actually because it's something else that sticks out of the front of the printer. So if I go to take this to a show, I tend to take like the PTFE piece and the spool holder and anything off the doors. Like this is solidly mounted, so that's good. But if it's not a good solid mount or it sticks out really far, I try and take the screens off so I don't catch them on something and bust them. Especially when I'm trying to put like 6 printers in the truck to drive to, Rocky Mountain or Earth. Closer for, oh, I don't have a good don't have a good view like angle of that screen. So how's it going, shenanigans? Been a little bit. I've missed some of your streams lately, I think. I haven't been able to check in and see all the weirdness that you've been working on. I do have a couple of other things as well. I'm other projects going on. I got some inline fuses on the way, so I can do some additional power injection. I'm going to move the. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount my 5-volt power supply under the center bench behind me. And so there, like I said, there's support bracing underneath these benches. So I'm going to add some wood underneath those support bracings, mount my 5-volt power supply and some breakouts on there so that I can run power accordingly because it's a 20 amp capable power supply. So it's 5-volt, 100-watt power supply. I should be able to run quite a few 5-volt LEDs off of it. So the color bars that I have in the back, which are just these. They're 3 foot long LED strips. What I have to do is inject power into this third one because it doesn't have enough. It can do 2, but it can't do 3. So I'm going to inject some power into the end of this strip. So down here, I'll need to plug in some power and ground on this end to uh, basically have power coming from both ends to get the third strip running good. And then I'm also going to come up with another light. I still need to get the LEDs in here and then make the run. But off that same controller, I'm also going to run this, which Solar 3DP made for me. And so it's a, it's just a thin front cover with the logo on it. And we're going to take and run LEDs around the edge, or I might look at the LED rings and maybe put like 2 rings or 3 rings inside of this and connect them in series and run that down to the power supply as well. And then that will light up, whoops, logo. And I'll be able to hang this up in the back somewhere or stand it up, do some type of stand for it. So yeah, I finally got that printed. Doing good, Shenanigans, doing good. We're just trying to work on various projects. So we've got the Dio droid project that we're going to start building. We've got the Dio, we've got the um, mini chopper build. We've got a couple of battle bots we're going to build on stream. We'll be working on the Trident over here, the Trident 350 on Saturday. And then this will probably go, I may wind up having to do some more streams throughout the week. Because I think Saturdays are going to be dedicated to the black box build. And that should be here hopefully by my birthday stream on the 10th. Should ship out next Monday. We're hoping that it gets here in that, in time for the Saturday stream. We will have cake on Saturday. I'm debating. So Miss Dragon went today and she was in Holly Springs, which has a nothing bundt cake. So I've got 2 Reese's so chocolate and peanut butter bundt cakes. So it's a chocolate bundt cake with peanut butter drizzle on it with Reese's Pieces inside of it. And then so I've got 2 of those, little small buntlets and a carrot cake one as well. So I'm debating whether I'm going to keep one of those for next Saturday or if I'm actually going to make a homemade carrot cake. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, so we've got the Trident. The Trident comes with a Enraged Rabbit carrot feeder, 6-cart version 1.1, I think. And I've ordered the, I've ordered 2 different kits, one from FiSec, one from the Lead, SELEAD, off of AliExpress. And both of those are 1.1 6-cart to version 2 8-carts upgrade kits. So both of those are in the States, I believe. One of them is already in Georgia and should be heading on its way to USPS. So hopefully that'll be here next week, if not sooner, and we'll be able to start. Well, the plan is to get the Trident working as Trident. Then we'll build Enraged Rabbit carrot feeder with the cottontail buffer system and everything. And we will install it on the 350 Trident. And then we'll make it work with the 350 Trident. Yeah, and I have a Big Tree Tech MMB board coming as well. I did order that as well. So we'll be using that on there. I do have other options. I have a Mellow Fly ERCFA CAN bus board and a standard ERCFA board that I can use for the second kit and build another one for one of the other Vorons. I'll just have to come up with some other parts, but no big deal. I can piece together what I'm missing. We got the droid builds. We got the black box build. I was showing off. I've got all the tool head parts now. So if I wanted to, I could really go and grab the FDM manual and start building black box tool heads today. But I want to do that front to back from the manual as once I get the kit in. So um, am I going to do filament detection? Are you talking about the encoder or are you talking about a separate sensor in each one of the carts? Because it should have the LEDs and everything. I've just now started looking at the ERCFA manual. I need to start printing all the parts for ERCFA in each cart. Probably. I might as well just go and do the full Monty. And at some point, once I realize that they have the MMU3 for the Mark IV kits available, I will get one of those as well. So basically, I'll have an MMU3 from Prusa. I'll have the trad rack up and running on the K3. I'll have at least one Enraged Rabbit carrot feeder V2 going on the big Trident down here, and I'll have the tool changing black box. Now, Nick, have you built the Enraged Rabbit carrot feeder V2 yet? I'm finally starting to see people with the builds, and I saw somebody that had build videos, but they weren't going through and I'll say doing like a C build or a Nero or a Digital Dragon style build video where they go through the manual and actually build it. Like the one guy had like a 4-hour build stream, but he wasn't talking through as he was building it. He was just building it on a stream. So you're like 70% done. Okay. Yeah, I found a guy that was building it on YouTube, but like I said, he wasn't actually. Yeah, I think that was the guy. He had like wood shelves behind him. It was like all like 300 size or all the same size Vorons, but they were like 2.4s or Tridents, probably a mixture of them. But as I was flipping through there, he was building, but he wasn't really like talking through what he was doing as he was building it. we're about just under 80% done, so probably another pass or so on these. And yeah, I am seeing some over extrusion on these. We will be able to see about what otherwise. That not on there or dropped off. Dropped off. So so like I said, we're going to continue with the Trident, of course, and that's going to be we'll work on that this Saturday. I want to when Black Box comes in, I want to do Black Box on the Saturday stream because I think it's going to take a little bit more. And having a longer stream to work on it will probably get there. And the Trident bill will move some towards the weekday stream. Now I don't know if I'm going to say, okay, we'll do Trident Tuesday and Thursday, or maybe we'll do Trident one day during the week. We'll add another stream and we'll do some droid builds on the Tuesday, Thursday. I don't know. I'm still trying to think my way through that. I do know that Mrs. Dragon will be going on another trip in March. And yeah, she'll be doing some more trips in March. She'll be going to Colorado, staying out there with her mom for some more uh, doctor stuff for her mom. And then she's going to come back. She's going to drive back out there. Uh, well, she's going to come back and I think go to a conference in DC for early childhood, uh, special education, or sibling stuff, and then um, come home, drive to Rocky Mountain, and drive stuff out for me. Me and Evil Diesel are going to fly out, do Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Fest, and then we're going to drive home in a U-Haul, bring stuff home with us. A lot of craziness going. But meanwhile, that means February and March, I may add on some additional streams. So, Nick, as far as the Enraged Rabbit carrot feeder, are you building it from scratch, or were you upgrading an existing one? Like, is this your first time building one? Because I've never built the Enraged Rabbit carrot feeder. Um, I've built the MMU2, and I've built the trad rack, and I've done the mechanical build of the trad rack, but I've never gone through and done the software side of it just yet. You had a 1.1 kit, you sourced the parts for V2, but did you have a running building 1.1, or did you have the kit and just they announced the V2, so you're building the V2? Okay, so yeah, you're basically in the same boat as I am. Then you're going to have some of the old 1.1 parts. You'll have the stuff to get up to V2, and you're building from scratch. Okay, nice. And Zombie, if you're still around, I know you've got AMSs. Have you ever done any other um like MMU style, or has it always just been the AMSs? Dirty Bunny was a total mess. What to do? Yeah. Well, and then there's also the Murph, who's an open source MMU, which is interesting because TradRack's open source, ERCFA's open source, and MMU's open source. Yeah, he built the ERCFA and didn't use. Yeah, and I know like Nero built an ERCFA, but he's like he never uses it. I know that what's his name? He builds has built at least one, if not more. I know he has streams on version 1 or 1.1. And Scott from Edge of 3D, which I saw recently, he finally had some new videos coming out. So hopefully he's rebooting his channel. Um, yeah, Nero's an interesting study in contradiction. Yes. I think was Scott running an ERCFA on the Zero G, or did he build a trad? I think maybe he built a trad rack and ran it on a Zero. Because I know he was doing. I can't remember if it was an ERCFA or a trad rack that he was running. All right, and I'm going to need to let this cool down, one, and then two, let it continue to process some of those fumes. But I am going to raise the tool head a bit because I don't have any type of whatchamacallit, like a brush. And looking at it, even all the way back, I'm not going to be able to put a brush on the back of this, like a nozzle cleaning brush, because it with Boop it doesn't clear the edge of the bed. So I think if I was running the standard carriage, I would be able to clear the back of the bed and run a nozzle brush. Now I could move the bed a bit more forward, but I'm going to lose some space on the front side of the bed and I won't get the full 180, which isn't that big of a deal to me. The Twitch stream he didn't realize he was doing. That's right. That's right. I was like, he doesn't do Twitch, but yes, he does. He started Twitch for his gaming stuff because he was doing Baldur's Gate. Maker My Nexus, how are you doing? Think he was recording a CAD video. Okay, gotcha. So he was probably using OBS to do a recording and didn't realize that he had hit stream as well. Oofda. All right, I am going to move this around. And by this is the air purifier. Because the headache is real. I really need to get at least another one of these. So I really need to be running two of these. The ABS smell is for real right now. Flipper the SR. Is that the is that tripod? That's the FL Sun Super Racer that you were referring to, right? Okay. So this is the Micron build. Um, since the last stream, I did put all the panels on. I got the screen fully installed. In fact, I reprinted the mounting parts for the screen and I printed it on the Micron. So it has printed its own parts. It printed the zero filter that we have just kind of sitting in the back right now. And it's sitting in the back right now because I printed the squirrel. We just did it a little bit larger. So this is the ABS. This is the Fusion Filaments Red Dwarf ABS that we use to print the parts for the Micron. And I started to print another part and realized that, well, I had killed this roll. So luckily it finished this. So I put in some Polymaker Blue ABS and we printed the Cyber Medusa from Smith, one of his newly released ones on Thangs. And I still need to print the base, but this is printing. This is about a 7.5 hour print. And standard Voron settings just at like 20% adaptive cubic infill. And so this printed all day long today. And I didn't have any type of filter on this machine. So the headache's been real all day. Hence why I just moved the air purifier a little bit closer here to help out. But we got the zero filter installed. I need to print out the parts for a second one, and they're going to get mounted on each side of the bed rail. Now, in order to do that, it's a really tight fit. So since I have to take the bed off anyhow, I'm going to install, the metal thumb screws underneath it, which are a little bit thicker than the Bakelite pads that are on there right now. And that will raise the bed up a little bit to give me some additional clearance. And the nice thing is the 4010 blower fans that these use will be right underneath the edge of the bed. So it will help circulate the air and get the heated chamber up a little bit easier. But yeah, she's up and printing. We did input shaper, so we had to install Numpy because that's the thing I keep forgetting is I get the printer config set up for input shaping, but I keep forgetting to install the software requirements in Numpy. So we did that. In fact, I should probably log out of the CB1 before I forget to. And now what we've been doing is we were running some of our fusion multiplier testing or flow rate testing. So I will pop this off so that we could take a look at it. It'll cool down a little bit faster because we don't necessarily need it. Put this up here for you guys to take a look at. Like we're definitely over extruded big time up here. This is 0 in the middle. This is +5, -5, 10, 15, 20. And I'm thinking I'm still getting a lot of excess and some curling at the corners, but that's also because we haven't done any pressure advance and stuff like that. But I'm thinking just from a straight um, look that -5 is pretty good because I am seeing some bunching up at the ends and over extrusion just on these edges, which I'm not sure if you can see. So we might start at 0 and just go 0 down and see if we can find the middle. But yeah, that's true. And that's that's the big thing too, is if you ever talk or review the Ellis information, it really comes down to what does it look like to you, right? If it looks good, or I shouldn't say how about or how good it looks to you. It's how does it look? Because on paper it may be this is the best, but it really ends with the look. And is it printing and looking right? Um, really kind of debating. And since I know it does it by factors of 10, or it'll do from top to bottom. So it'll start at 0 and go down to -9. I'm actually going to leave it where it's at because it will eventually get down to the -5 and go a little bit lower. But it's somewhere between the 0 and the 10 is where I like it better. So I'm not going to make a change and just run the second flow rate pass. Now, one thing I do tend to do is between each test, I make sure and not just delete the last test file off the build plate, but I go up and do a new project because that way I can enforce that it doesn't keep anything from the last test cycle that we did. Mm. Yeah, and I want to say I've got the standard Voron setting. So what is the percent? Yeah, infill/wall overlap is set to 25%. So that is another option is to change that. So MakerMine, I know you've been testing out something. How have you liked it so far? Yeah, I've been impressed. Yeah, I've been impressed. So that is currently in my Trident, and I'm going to swap back over to the Revo with the obsidian nozzle and the Trident, and that hot end is going to go into the Trident 350 down here. I just can't show it off on stream. But I figure something like that would do well on the larger volume of a 350. Oofed up. I'm going to switch screens to like this, and I'm going to literally stand back some because stand right here and get some fresh air coming out of this. Because yeah, the headache is real. ABS fumes. Oh, I bet. Yeah. See that's the thing is I was running it on my my Trident 300, and yeah, it's funny because you see everybody doing the speed race tests. Like, man, they're going really fast. Um, but yeah, you put a big bore nozzle on something, and it doesn't go so fast, but it's still pushing a lot of plastic. Rook with a Sherpa Micro. Oh yeah, yeah, yep. Well, and I'm still impressed with the K3 because that's a Sherpa Mini pushing a Rapido 2, and I'm really liking the Rapido 2. First time I've used a Rapido, and yeah, there may be more of those in my future. Yeah. Now I've been tending to run my PLA at 220 and then running fast, but like recently, I know this is white. I'm going to try and get a harsh light on it. So this is white. Point was 0.12 or 1.6 layer height. Um, and I slowed it down to like 50% of my normal print speeds. So it took a while, but this is the DO, or not DO, this is the a reprint of the body for Chopper. And you'll notice it's got this grid. I'm going to cut this grid out, and there's a piece that'll slide in here that will allow me to have that arm that will come out on a servo. And I've also printed the parts that I can make his little periscope go up and down as well. So I'm probably going to do them without the periscope going up and down at first, just to make sure I can make him work right, and then add on to him as I go. But you know, here's going to be his little arm that will servo out from the body. Got this, like I said, got the stuff for the periscope and things like that. So yeah, we're gonna have fun with these guys. And I've got everything to do the chopper build except for the motors for the main legs. So kind of waiting on those, but I can do the bulk of the body build and stuff on. But I'm going to want to sand and at least do the initial like sand, prime, and then paint gloss white before I then go and start doing electronics build and stuff and building everything because I don't want to have to sit there and mask off a bunch of parts. Um, so I want to get at least the initial outer coat on them, then go through and I can paint and do the other stuff after I start building the electronics in. Yeah. Oh, I did see you mention something about that. So did you reach out to FlashForge and they send you one, or how'd that happen? I saw it coming out and I see people talking about it, but once again, I'm kind of like, eh, you know, like there's still a part of me that really, really wants to go and just order a bamboo, or even, I thought about like, do I order a K1C or something? But eh, poor decisions. Gotcha. Yeah, I've got a lot of printers. We'll put it that way. I got a lot of printers, and I've got to start making some tough decisions soon on what I do with said printers. Hopefully, Mrs. Dragon didn't hear that. She'll start taking one out of the house every day and giving them away. Now, see, Nick, that makes sense. Now, would it be an A1, or it probably wouldn't? It wouldn't be an A1 with a or a A1 Mini with a AMS slide. It'd have to be a maybe a was it the P1P with an AMS? Which one is it? The P1P or the P1S that's got the enclosure still? Yeah, before you go rooting it, you just got to make sure the darn thing works first. Make sure it works first, then you can root. Okay, P1S is in, so it'd be a P1S with an AMS unit. And then we would do, that would allow us to compare and contrast all of our stuff. And then I can just go and do HueForge for like a month straight and then never touch it again. Now, what's the size on the Adventure? I guess like a FlashForge Adventure. So very P1S. Kind of looks like a P1P where you can add your own panels and customize, or maybe these are colors that you can get. Oh, that's pretty. That looks like bolt-on panel. $220 cubed. let's see, 0.4 installed, 0.68 or 0.25 are optional. Max extruder temp 280C, 110 on the bed, 600 millimeters per second. Max extruder speed. Yeah, numbers. Okay, yeah, 220 cubed. Not a bad. I mean, that's K1. I mean, yeah, that's K1 size. And what's the P1S? What's its build volume? P56. Okay, so yeah, so the 256 cubed. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger. Um, so it's kind of like Ender size versus Prusa build plate size in essence, right? Kind of where your comparison is. So it's not too different. Um, Enclosable. You can get a P. So it's more like a P1P to Adventurer 5 comparison, or the Creality K1. Um, or Creality K1 or K1C to the Adventurers. I mean, price wise, it's right there. I mean, it's they're trying to be competitive, that's for sure. Uh, yeah, I think the P1P. Well, the P1P, can that work with the AMS or not? I don't think it can, right? It's the P1P is the neutered one. Oh, hey, Two Wolf, welcome on in. I like that. Yeah, the P1P is definitely the neutered version. It has um, everything's like optional, and the options that you buy are not the same as the P1S. I don't. And once again, if you go with the Adventure or the Reality K1, you don't have the AMS option, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't go with a Chameleon or some other MMU. You're just going to have to dig into it some to make it work. And of course, root the darn thing so that you can then make it work. But I mean, yeah, for $299, that's not a bad price. But yeah, I would be more looking at like P1S combo, be able to get the AMS. But yeah, even still, like A1 bed slinger with the um, so an A1 bed slinger with the AMS light isn't that bad of an option either. It's just once again, you're not doing um, enclosed print stuff, right? It's going to have to be um, PLA, PETG, stuff like that. Yeah, and that's the thing. The K1, K1C, and all that stuff, it works fine as it is. It's it's the fact that people don't like being locked into an ecosystem, right? And quite honestly, with the Creality Cloud and the stuff that they had around that initially, that kind of put a lot of people off, right? And even with Maker World and stuff like that, some people are cool with it, some people aren't. You know, I I understand. Um, but yeah, maybe that's something else that I can do to, is to get a bamboo or something else to test. Because like I said, I'll have the Brad Rack, I'll have the IRCFA. Um, I've looked at, I keep looking at the Chameleon, and for the price of the Chameleon, it's not that expensive, and you can put a Chameleon on darn near anything. Um, so that's an option, is the Chameleon for setting up with a multicolor. Yeah. No, and quite honestly, the only thing that I have, like the only bone stock printer I have, is my Mark IV down here. My Prusa Mini has the Bondtech IFS extruder, so the integrated filament sensor extruder, and I swapped the hot end for a Revo Mini, Revo Micro, whatever. That's the only difference. And both of those, I turn them on and I say print. Well, let me rephrase it. I turn them on, I clean the bed, and I say print, right? Like right now, I need to print. I've got TPU in there, but I got to pull it back out and dry it. But I need to run some new front end um, wings for my dragster, right? Because they came out this year. The requirement is your front wing of your dragster must be TPU. So I've got to print those. I got to print a couple of TPU front wings because I gave Evil Diesel a full set of parts to build one. So I'll print a couple of the TPU wings for the front wings and swap mine and give him one, and then we'll have those for the shows later in the year. But print TPU, slap it on the Mark IV. Anything I put on the Mark IV is printed, no problem. Uh, and then, like I said, I've got all my Vorons. I may do something with my ender wire. Um, I think they've got most of it squared away, Nick. Now I don't know if they're running Flipper. I think the 3D Chameleon may still just be Marlin. Yeah, that's the thing, is the exchange rates and stuff like that, but 3D Chameleon, um, yeah, see, I mean, that's the thing is the Mark III is only $179. So $179, that's probably the cheapest MMU option out there, right? It is looking at it, it's the cheapest and possibly the easiest because of the way that you trigger it, right? You can trigger it with the bed, you can trigger it with your hot end. But the downside of that is I want to say it only works with Marlin. So the Mark III only supports Prusa Slicer and its variants. Okay. Um, so maybe it is just the G codes. I don't believe he is testing it with Clipper though. Well, no, I guess he has to because I've seen it working on a Bamboo Lab. He had it on a, I want to say it Murph. He had it running on a Bamboo Labs, so it's got to be able to run on Clipper. Yeah, because it uses this straight G code generator, and you just copy and paste the custom G code into the tool change block of the slicer. Yeah, I should be able to work with Clipper. They allow up to 32 colors, so it's basically just daisy chaining them together. And it works on both um, direct drive and Bowden system. So, I mean, 180 bucks, that's pretty cheap of an option. But then again, Aussie, I'm assuming you're down in Australia by your name, and everything going to Australia is crazy expensive. right? And vice versa, getting anything from Australia is majorly expensive as well. So that's just yeah, that's just a nature of the beast there. Um, that sucks. I get you there. But yeah, I mean that's not a bad option. It'd be great if they had some type of local distributor that could get them in, because I think if you could get them in bulk, it would ease up the shipping costs some and make it a little bit different. Yeah, so the cost, like I said, the cost is one thing, but the shipping is what makes it even worse. And then, you know, like I keep hearing Nero's story about import fees and stuff like that. So he gets stuff in and it's like he's already paid for shipping and then he gets import fees and everything else tacked on to it. So that would be, insult to injury there. Okay, you have up to 1,500 before you get charged additional import duty fees. Well, that's good. Now if we can figure out how to get shipping costs down. Daddy Wisey, how's it going? From rush hour traffic. Well, hopefully I can provide something enticing for you to listen to while you're driving home. Traffic does suck though. Right now we're just printing on the Micron EWTC BF2. Yep, there you go. Tesla's is still there. She's awake now. Yeah, I think we're going to do a lot of that this year. Just play around with some new stuff. Like I said, we'll be doing some multicolor printing systems, allow us to do some compare and contrast. We'll have the black box, which will be a straight up tool changer. So we'll be able to look at that. Who knows? Maybe I'll even go and do a tap changer to one of my Vorons. Yeah, we may update Kyber Dragon to a tap changer. Who knows? Yeah, Tradrack, Urkfa, maybe a Chameleon. I want to do the MMU3 on the Mark IV and compare that to my experience with an MMU2 on the Mark III, which it was working great. I mean, once I got it dialed in, it was working good for the prints that I did with it. And then I sent it over with Evil Diesel, and he's been trying to get it back working good for him. And maybe we might do one of the Bamboo Labs units with an AMF. Ooh, what kind of tacos did you get for the ride home? Like Taco Bell, Del Taco, Taquiera, getting tacos. Those sound good now too. Damn. That's okay. I do have some leftover pizza still, so I can have some pizza. And like I said, we got sorry, I got some pizza and I got some carnitas from a local mom and pop shop. Nice. I tell you what, every time I go out to Murph, like this last year, I got to talk to my son and coordinate it a little bit better because he brought me 2 dozen homemade tamales on Sunday, and I'm like, dude, like you need to bring these on like Saturdays so we have time to eat them. And like 2 dozen, but yeah, he's got a hookup with somebody that makes them at home, and they're authentic homemade tamales. Oh my God, they are good. But I just can't eat as much of them anymore as I would back in the day. My gastric bypass, they are amazing. If you're at Murph, hit me up because I will probably have an excess of tamales. If you translated the Chinesium correctly. So, luckily, I have noticed that AliExpress is apparently starting to get tracking numbers that at least USPS will either get or translate to the USPS number. So I've got one that's in Macon, Georgia, and the other one says it's stateside, but I'm I haven't gotten anything in a couple of days on its status. So both of mine are stateside at least. I just don't know when they're going to get here. Hoping they'll get here, you know, in a few days. Um, don't know, don't know, but I can hold out hope. Comes in via piggy ship. Okay, never heard of that. Cool thing, Dan. So the speed racer, the FL Sun Speed Racer 400 or whatever. What is the like probing mechanism on it? Is it like a BL touch or inductive? I can't remember off the top of my head. Okay, it's like a click. Okay, is that the one that you basically like attach, let it do its probe, and then you take back off? Or is it an automated one versus a okay. No, I've seen it. It's just too many printers, man. Too many printers, too many builds. I can tell you, I'm really loving the beacon. I'm gonna need to definitely get a second whatchamacallit, zero filter in here. No, that's cool. Surprisingly enough, I ordered the little N20 motors for the ant weight robots. These are the drive motors for the wheels. Things are awesome. These are metal geared motors, and you can get these on Amazon and stuff as well. But these have the controller boards soldered onto them, so you can take your power and signal directly from the receiver into here. So the receiver can take the 2S power directly. So I'll feed 2S power directly and then directly out of the receiver into these. So it reduces the overall number of components that we're trying to put into the robot, which is great since it's a 150 gram style robot. But these things I got from DF Robot, which I didn't realize is a Chinese company. And these things were here in like 3 days. They sent them via UPS. So that was pretty cool. Ooh, and that's nice metal. But yeah, we're gonna have a couple of little tiny ant weight combat robots, and we're gonna have a couple of droid builds. We're gonna have some fun on. Yeah, I've seen DHL, I've seen USPS. Now lately, I've been getting a lot. There's like, yeah, there's some kind of extra carriers that are getting in between the stuff coming from China and USPS, right? Like I see it clear customs, and then it says going to carrier, and it cleared customs in like Macon, Georgia, and then I get UPS start tracking it in like North Carolina. Somebody moved it from customs to North Carolina, but it didn't seem like it was a USPS, you know? So we'll let this cool off a little bit. Um, but yeah, I am finding that stuff coming from China has actually been coming out and shipping pretty quickly. However, everybody be cognizant because they're getting ready to go into the Chinese Lunar New Year. And that's going to be one thing. So on my birthday stream, the stuff that's coming from LDO Motors, the stuff coming from LDO Motors, I think he's going to ship from a US distributor. And then the stuff coming from Fadis is shipping from Fadis in China. So I will get your information. I will send it along. It will take a little while to get to you because they are going to be out for several weeks for the Lunar New Year. So we will have to stay on top of that and track that and keep them honest and getting that out to us and out to you guys. But that is something to be aware of. KB3D, it's going to be gift certificates. So those should be available like almost immediately because you can send those electronically to you. And then the stuff that I'm going to throw into the kitty, right now, it's going to be two Famous Dragonfly BMO hot ends and a bisect all metal Sherpa Mini, and I may grab something else and toss it in. Who knows? Um, but that stuff I will ship, and that's going to be U.S. and Canada only. Um, or at least that's my initial anticipation, just because I know shipping costs is going to be expensive going around the world. But who knows? Maybe we can do something else as well. We're just going to let this cool down a little bit, let it suck some of that ABS fumes through the um, carbon filter a little bit. You got to keep us up to date here, Dan. You're you you were doing a bed level, and then you're going to do your Z offset and stuff. Is it running? Is it actually laying down plastic? Good, good. Do you clean your carbon before you use it? I do not. This is Nevermore carbon pellets. And I just dumped it in and went. And I've actually got um, a bento box ready to go. Of course, this is the color scheme of pop pink and pop blue Polymaker ASA. So this will get installed in the Trident. We'll install this as we're doing the Trident build. And then I also have a bento box mini over on the table over there that I still need to install in the K3. And of course, the bento box mini just has the carbon filter. It doesn't have a HEPA filter like the bigger bento. Bigger bento box, it rather than blowing air through, it sucks air through a HEPA filter and then through carbon, and then blows the cleaned air out. Where bento box mini and all the Nevermores blow, we'll say the VOC laden air through the activated carbon filter. Yes, they are dusty. I agree with that. Because if I dig it out by hand, I will have the black chalkiness on my hand. Um, I agree. And then this right here behind me is a Holmes full room air filter. Like this one, I've got a couple of the smaller ones that are made for smaller size rooms like this. This is actually a bigger one that's made for like large rooms, like a living room or something. So it's got 3 sets of HEPA filters and carbon filters. So I'm kind of using this to help filter the entire room's air as well. Um, so go ahead and just pull this out. And we'll let that continue to clean. I'm going to visually look at this myself first. So there you go. Kind of start this. So I'm kind of liking down to like -3. So it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9 for whatever reason. But -3 and -4, I think I like the most on these. Have I leveled the bed? Yes, the bed is level. Bed is level, first layer height is squared away. Right now we're just doing extrusion multiplier, and then we're going to do pressure advance. And then we may throw a swatch truck on here to see how that one goes. Like I said, I kind of like the look of -3 the best on here. We'll have to do our little math calculation. You still don't have panels on yours? Okay, now I did send the pressure advance one over, and whatever reason, what I've had issues with, this is that little arrow pattern. And when I've been slicing it out of Orca Slicer, for whatever reason, it slices, it uploads, but then when I go to print, the file like craps the bed for whatever reason. And I'm not sure if there's a issue or if it was, I don't know, something in there. It hasn't liked the last few times I tried doing it. And that's what I wind up doing is the actual little tower model and then doing the measurement. Um, and I don't know, I'm not even sure if there's a new version of Orca Slicer out there, and that may be the probably get the pressure advanced tower ready to go. Just safe side. And I am a complete idiot because I didn't change my extrusion multiplier value before slicing this, so or the other one that I just did. So emergency stop it. Let's get those things heating up and delete these two files. Use some mathy math stuff. Calculator app makes math in public better. Set advance. Try and do the pattern. Did you go with sensorless or in stops? I have in stops. So I'm using the X in stop and the Y in stop. And of course, boop for the Z in stop. And then right now I've got a ZeroFilter that's loosely just sitting in the back right now, which is it's a carbon filter, but it uses a 4010 blower. And you really need like 2 of them to be a little bit comparable to the Nevermore that you would the old Nevermore version 4 or 5 that you would put in a V0. So it's a little underwhelming right now, but I need to print a second set of parts and go. But I will tell you this, zombie. I printed this today. This is ABS. This is a Photosmint Cyber Medusa. So Micron did print this today. So even though we hadn't done input shaping, we hadn't done any extrusion multiplier, printer can go burr and print good things. And this was like a 7.5-hour print. Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of expected it to work good. It's a 2.4, right? It's smaller 2.4. But it prints great. So I will have to print the parts for a second whatchamacallit, a second zero filter and get those installed and get them connected in. And then, yeah, we'll be ready to just keep rocking and rolling with this. Be able to go and take a spot in the line behind us. Metal pulleys. In fact, right now, it's weird because my kit came with tooth idlers, but they don't fit in me. These are, and I realize what it is I printed all the parts from the Micron repository, and there are different parts, I believe, for the Z pulleys to use the tooth idlers that came with it. But they're the tooth idlers with the 3mm built-in bearings, and I don't really like those to begin with. So these are running on smooth idlers. You know, the same thing with the front idlers on the X carriage. They're running smooth idlers everywhere instead of tooth idlers. So I may have more wear on the belt. Oh, on the they're the metal ones. The big Z pulleys are the metal ones. I've got the printed ones. I did print out them or print them out, but the kit came with the metal ones, so we went with the metal ones. Yeah. Yeah, and see, boom, I just got it was a move out of range SD card. So something is causing a move out of range. So +5x to go to -5 on the Y. I don't know why that file is kicking out and doing that. But if I come in here and run the tower, which me it's obviously got to be something in the starting G code. Yeah, I'm running camp. But I guess my point is if the calibration, like that pressure advance is centered in the bed, I don't know why it would trigger camp as a negative. Well, yeah, it is going out of bounds because it sets up for X5, Y -5. And I know it's pushing forward to do camp, but it's 10 millimeters. Like if the part is centered, I guess here's where I need to go is just look at the file. And so just this line right here with the exclude object defined, polygon 5, 5, so X and Y, so 5 and 5, and then 175 to 5. So this is the issue right here is the bed size or the bed size that it's giving for the overall layout. That's weird. So bet you if I manually edited this to do that, it would probably work. Yeah, that's got to be something in the G code that's causing it. Well, it's something in the default file that's putting it out of bounds there. Well, the test model starts at 45, I believe it was. It's the boundary box that it sets for. So the exclude object define area was 5 5 175 5 175 175 5 175 and then 5 5. So it's like setting a 5 millimeter offset as the bound box around the whole thing. So that's what camp is using when it generates its initial bed mesh. I was trying to figure out why it was meshing the whole bed when the printed part is right in the center. And then, yeah, camp is 10 millimeters in front of the print, which would mean if the bound box is 5 on the Y, then it would go to -5 for the bounding box or for camp to do with purge line. Yeah. Buy a pencil. Thanks, Daddy Wazzy. I appreciate the 100 bits. Come back over here and take a look at our printer printing again. We're going to do the little tower print and just measure from it. So once I start seeing that it rounds the corners again, because it should round as it's as the PA level is too low, it'll round. Then it'll get a nice sharp corner, and then it'll start rounding again. So we don't have to let it print the entire thing. We can stop at mid print and still get there. So and the nice thing is I just keep my same starting macros that I use for all of my uh, flipper printers. So especially things that do tap is it'll do the homing sequence, then it'll go over to the front corner, finish heating up, and then do the purge line right in the front. So it keeps things nice and simple. So you guys have seen, we've done enough of these builds that you guys have seen how many parts that we print for like a typical Voron electronics package, right? Um, so these are all the parts for the black box. So that's not going to show too well. Um, yeah, these are all the electric parts or the parts that go with the electronics of the black box. So everything from our plates for our uh, boards to our electrical outlet, wire ties, power supplies. I mean, you name it. That's a lot of plastic just for electrical components. But I have been printing out all of the parts by chapter of the build manual. And right now I've got everything done but the enclosure and the water cooling. And I'm going to wait a little bit before I do those. Not for anything other than I'm running out of places to put parts and I don't want to misplace parts while I'm waiting. But the black box, yeah. Well, my initially I was going to do black and orange, um, but there's really no accent part designation, so it'd really be me sitting there trying to figure out what parts I wanted to do as accents. And actually, the thing that I need to work on this next week is just printing out all the different tools So the files have not just the printed parts for the build, but all the tools. Now on our Trident build right now, right, here's the tools. We've got two different size of linear rail alignments. The uh, the ones that allow you to set your gantry height to the appropriate spacing, and your pulley, right? That's it. 5 total or 7 total pieces. There's a couple of the parts, like the first frame part, that I think there's more tools to print than actual parts that you'll use in the frame build. Um, so yeah, there. But I'm going to go through and print off all of the required tools, um, and have those lined up as well for the. And I'm just going to print those in PLA. And I'll have those ready because on the 10th, which is the birthday stream, I'm hoping to have Black Box here by then. So Black Box should ship Monday. If it ships via UPS, it should be here by Saturday. So that will be a nice birthday present from KB3D. I've gotten all the tool head parts that I need now. It's just getting in the rest of the black box stuff. Well, I say I got all of them. I've got enough to do the four print heads that I'm going to do. I got 4 FDM tools that I'm going to do, and I'm going to leave the 5th tool bay empty for now because there are supposed to be options for non-FDM tool heads. So I just wanted to keep my options open. Now, are you doing a black box build, Zombie? I know you're doing the tap chain. Black box, black box is going to be interesting, and it's definitely going to be a complex build. And I'm glad that I went through and did the K3 and have the K3 working as well as it is, because that's going to play nicely into all the stuff that comes with black box, right? Um, the basic frame build, linear rails, gantry systems, that's easy. But it'll be the electronics, the actual tool changing and getting everything properly aligned. That'll be a little bit of next level complexity that will, just add to the build experience. And I will, like I said, I am going to get some more filament, and I am going to reprint all the parts for my trad rack. I'm going to rebuild it to the latest open beta build parts, and get that running. Oh, yes. Is the K3 running well? So we'll do some show and tell. all of this is printed on the K3. All of it has been printed in polycarbonate CF. So polycarbonate carbon fiber. Top layers. So yeah, it's chewed through over 2 rolls of polycarbonate carbon fiber. It's working on roll number 3 right now. And I just got in 3 more rolls for no other reason than I'm loving it and it's going to keep chewing on it. Um, yeah. And crap, I had all these in order and now they're out of order. But oh well. We'll be able to figure out the order again later. Yeah. K3 is doing good. It is chewing through spool after spool of polycarbonate CF just fine. It's got a Status tungsten carbide nozzle on it through the Rapido 2. Yeah, it's just been printing beautifully. I want to get Trad Rack rebuilt with the same colors in Sparta 3D PC ABS, or might just go with their standard ABS. Well, and that's the thing is their colors are a little bit different between the PC ABS and the standard ABS because it's a sparkle, but the PC ABS the color's a little bit muted. So I'm probably gonna have to go back and print it in the PC ABS. And then I will rebuild Trad Rack to the latest spec parts and get that going and use um, their Nebula board for the Trad Rack. And then the ERCFA V2 that's going to go on the big Trident over here, the Trident 350 over here, is, oh, what am I thinking of? That's going to be running the Big Tree Tech MMB board. So I did break down and order that, even though I've got a ERCFA board on hand. I am going to do the Big Tree Tech board. And of course, we'll run Cottontail, the filament cutter, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, I want to get the salad fork on the line as well and start printing out with both of these. In fact, I've got the wire racks down here, and what I'm going to do is just go and cut. I'm going to go and cut the boards and replace the wire racks with boards so it's a little more stable, and clean up everything down here and start getting other printers online down below. So starting to get there. Well, and folks, I just realized it's coming up on 9 o'clock, and I'm going to call the stream here shortly. because really I need to grab something to eat. I will get the extrusion multiplier done though, and after I get, or excuse me, we've got the extrusion multiplier done. I'm going to get the pressure advance figured out, and then I will run a swatch truck and post a picture of the swatch truck to Twitter. Also, like I said, need to take a picture of the couple of prints that I've done on this in ABS so far, just to get these added out there to show off the Micron. But yeah, let me see who's out there and live right now. Shenanigans is out there. Is somebody possibly watching Shenanigans now that can tell me whether or not he's actually still going to be running, or is he getting ready to drop soon? Or okay, sounds great. So let me go ahead and bring you guys up here on me then. And I want to say thank you everybody for coming in tonight. This will be the last mainstream of the build series for the Micron. Altogether, this has been a great little build. It goes together quick. The um, the electronics compartment's a little bit, but so is the salad port. It's just the nature of a small printer, right? But it's been a great little build series. We've got a lot to go on the books so far for FY24, for 2024, as far as builds and different projects going on. So please stick around. We are going to get into some builds that are more technical builds of 3D printers, but also more fun yet semi-technical builds like the droids and the little mini BattleBot, the Antway BattleBots, and stuff like that throughout the year. So definitely come back and join us. Thank you so much for being here with me this evening and sharing your time and some donated biddies and stuff. So, Daddy Wazzy, thank you for those 100 bits earlier today. And I'm going to go ahead and get the raid started out to Shenanigans. So, come along with me tonight. Show some love to Shenanigans. And I will see you all Saturday for the Trident 350 build stream. Thanks all. Have a great night.